and I want to build a new bot. You see, you can either start from scratch or you can start with a template, which we'll do in that case. So I'm going to pick the Q&A Maker and Lewis template, just give it a name, ESPC bot, and then that's it. And the whole bot project scaffolding will be done by the composer. So you got some triggers in there for help or for buying a surface or whatever. It has a welcome message in there. The language understanding part is also integrated within Composer. So here I define my language model within my Composer bot, where I can say help is one intent. I want to define by surface is another one. And if the intent is not known, I'll be directly going to Q&A Maker to see if there's an answer for the question the user has entered. And that's pretty much it. So if I now just want to adapt something, because I'm not a fan of text-only messages, but I want to actually send out a greeting card, I can do that. So as you can see here, the visual canvas is quite easy to manage. Within my responses, I can just type in any text I want to, and in that case, I want to send out an attachment as a greeting. So I can say I want to send out the JSON file, which I need to define, and the JSON file usually will be defined in my bot responses. So here are all the responses the bot actually will deliver to the users in the various dialogues for various triggers or whatever. So I'll just copy in some JSON, which I have come up with earlier. So this is my whole JSON representative of my adaptive card, and it has the name adaptive card JSON. So from my attachment activity, I just reference that variable if you want to, or that function if you want to, and this will then be pasted into my bot. So going back to my welcome dialog, now we see here if a new user enters the conversation, it will be greeted using the adaptive card, which we have defined. What you also can do within Composer is not only send responses, but you can also go ahead and ask questions, for example, where you expect either text input, number input, confirmation, what have you. You can also work with conditions, so you can actually build your switch cases in there. You can build loops. You can also build real dialogues. So on the left-hand side, we just have one dialogue in place right now, but we could add multiple dialogues in here, and then we could begin a new dialogue upon the greeting or what have you. You can also work with variables, so you can define initialized variables, you can set them, you can read them, and so on and so forth. And you can also access external resources. So you could easily send out an HTTP request to an API, for example, to your HR API, which is running on your premises, for example, and then grab the data from there and infuse it into the bot's conversation. So if I'm now done actually creating my bot, I can go ahead and start it. And all I need for starting it is a Lewis key. Lewis, where did there's a white space in there. Lewis is the cognitive service offering language understanding. So right now, what happens is that Composer is taking my language model, which is defined in Markdown here, and creating a new language understanding app for me within my Azure tenant, and make sure that my bot is hooked up to that Lewis application to get the intents from the language model, which has been defined via Markdown here. If it's done, the second thing which Composer will do is to actually start my bot on my local host. So I can then go ahead and test my bot within my, there's an error. As I said, it's preview. So you can run into errors all the time, but I'll go ahead and switch back to a bot I've created earlier, which does the exactly the same. So I'm going to publish it. If the language understanding model has been published, the bot framework composer will execute your bot locally, and then you can test it within the emulator. So if I go ahead and test it now, we should see that the bot will be greeting me with the adaptive card. So it should send us an adaptive card. And with the emulator, as you can see on the right-hand side, you can even have a look at the traces, so you can see what's going on in there. So I get the adaptive card. Now I can ask what is the V4 SDK, for example, which is part of a question coming from Q&A Maker, and I'll get the answer from there. So what I've done before, because this would take quite some time, is I've deployed that bot to my Azure tenant. So if I go ahead and switch to my Azure portal, this is the bot that I've deployed in here with the same adaptive card greeting and the same business logic behind it. So if I now go ahead and ask what is the V4 SDK, it will give me the same answer.